Look, I opened this jar of rotten baby food, and well, a butterfly came out.
By magician, do you mean like a stage magician or like magic with a K, like an occultist, hermeticist,
Ooh.
perhaps? What do you mean?
Ah. Wow.
Like a real
Well,
magician?
welcome to Comedians and Elevators podcast. I've got my guest, Thom Woodley. Thom, say hi, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I'm Thom Woodley. I don't know if I'd call myself a comedian. I don't do stand up, for example, but I am a web creator. Made one of the earliest web series out there, a comedy called The Berg, which is yeah, like the first scripted sitcom online. We're going back quite a long ways for that one, back to like 2006. So yeah, 20 years ago when I was real young. But that was a blast and made a bunch of other web series. I was for a good while an executive at College Humor and places like that. I am an advertising guy. I guess as far as comedy and advertising, the most famous thing that I worked on was the Dos Equis Most Interesting Man in the World commercials, the first ones. Like wrote a bunch of those for like 5 years. And yeah, now I mainly work in vertical. I work in on the very ridiculous and comic industry of the quote unquote Chinese soap operas, the microdramas and that whole world.
Oh, is this TikTok related?
Sometimes, but mostly it's like there's this whole it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But there's this whole ecosystem of apps where people watch these essentially soap operas, which by the way are primed for satire and parody the way that these verticals are. They're making billions of dollars, and they are just the most ridiculous things in the world.
Right.
And so yeah, that's that's what I do.
No, it's cool. It's the new way, and I'm sure AI is gonna be
Yeah,
helpful or not. I don't know, competition, but we're gonna find out, right?
a little bit of both.
All right. All right. So, Tom, you ready to get started?
Let's get started.
Listen, to my regular listeners, I know you don't like when at the beginning of these conversations I ask you to subscribe. None of us like it. I don't like saying it. I don't like it being in here. But it's frustrating. You know what else is frustrating? It's also frustrating when I look in the back end of the YouTube channel and I see that 56% of you that watch frequently haven't yet subscribed. And I know this because I see it in the comments section. You say things like, I didn't know I didn't subscribe. And that's actually what fuels the show. Basically, it's like you're making a donation to the show. So that's why I ask all the time, because it enables us to build and build and build, and we're going for the long term here. Hit the subscribe button, and we'll continue to build this show for you. That's my promise. Thank you to all you guys that do subscribe. It means the world to me.
All right. So the whole point of the podcast is to compare and contrast the comic versus the comedian. So
Mm.
I define the comic as any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian. Uh, oh my, I messed it up. Oh my God. That's the first time in like 150 episodes. The
Wow,
comic
that's reading.
is yeah, is any person telling funny jokes versus the comedian is anybody telling funny. It's the thing. I messed it up. How did I mess it
Yeah,
up? You're the
yeah, I don't
first
know.
one. I'll tell you why I messed it up is because I would think that you would argue that writers are comics and not comedians,
Yeah, it depends what they're writing, but yeah,
right?
for the most part, yeah. I mean, it's like I guess if you're saying the comedian is defined as someone who makes their living telling jokes, or at least, I mean, what is making a living anyway in this nightmare hellscape gig economy that we all live in? So, yeah, I guess if you're defining it like that, then certain writers are comedians, and probably more of them are comics, because a good writer is able to maybe shift gears between all different tones and all different kind of like I can write a funny sitcom and I can write, a tear jerker Chinese soap opera too, apparently. So there we go.
Uh, I like it. So would you say that you start as a comic and evolve into a comedian?
Me or what does one evolve?
Either, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it would be really hard to do it the other way around. It would be a really rough go if you were a professional comedian first and you weren't funny. Although I expect there are a few out there. Maybe some certain like observational comics are not actually funny. Yeah, I think so. I think you start out as a comic. Somebody tells you you are funny, and then you become a comedian. Yeah, I suppose that's right. I remember working at College Humor and just absolutely full of funny people, professionally and otherwise. But I would have people tell me there that they thought I was the funniest person there, which I don't believe by a long shot. But I think it was because I wasn't trying to do it publicly, professionally, you know. So I think yeah, I think there's an element where in some ways you can even be funnier if you're not doing it for money, you know.
So I could see, so basically using your blind spot, right? Because the only way that they know you, unless they're just reading it or watching someone else doing your work, if you're actually telling the joke or doing the lines, you have to perform it for them to hear it.
Yep.
So if
Yep.
you're saying that you're not performing it and then they laugh because it's funny anyway, like that's the blind spot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Or yeah,
Which would make
you're
it extra
just
funny.
yeah, you're just a person like you're the cut up of your local like insurance agency that you work for or whatever. You're just, you know, one of many people who are just funny in their daily lives just because they can be and it lightens the mood for other people.
Hmm.
Um, you know, my wife used to think I was funny.
Uh,
I don't know if she still does. Yeah, she does. Yeah,
what?
of course she still does. Yeah, no.
She's like, yeah, new material. I'll go with that. So,
Yeah, that's it. New material. It's and then I'm a dad too, right? So that's a whole level of funny slash unfunny, where
mm,
the audience shifts all the time, and what they think like, yeah, what the material is going to be, if it's going to work or not for my 3-year-old. It's a constant, constant battle.
yeah, if you're trying to be funny to everybody, every generation, that's going to be a tough go, right?
Yes, as Abraham Lincoln said, right? We can be funny to all the people some of the time, and some of the people all the time, but we cannot be funny to everyone all the time. That's roughly what he said, I think.
Nice. All right, so Tom, you ready for the first question?
I thought that was the first question. Yes.
Well, it was the setup, the premise.
Okay.
So it's about the role of persona in comedy. So how much of the comedian's voice is a character versus the real self?
Hmm. I think it plays a huge role actually. Um, and this is actually one of the reasons why I think I did not become more publicly or assertively a comedian, is because I was always uncomfortable with the persona side of it. Um, Essentially, you have to be willing to brand yourself into something that is larger than yourself, in a way that people can
Mhm.
understand quicker than yourself, and people can be mad at that brand and that persona and can't believe what you said, but you know, you the person might have a completely different reaction. I mean, look, I think that different comedians approach this different ways, but yeah, like it plays a huge role. There are some comedians that sort of, you know, are allowed to say things that other comedians maybe are not, or other comics are not. And that's something that goes back to the days of like, you know, the court jester for the king, right? It's
Mhm.
like the court jesters, if he takes that little bell dangle hat off, he's taking his persona off, and now he's just a guy bad mouthing the king, and let's send him to the guillotine, right? But that once he puts on that persona, or it's like an actor putting on a mask in the ancient Greek theater to get academic on you. But yeah, that's what that is. That's literally what that means, right? The persona. It is something we put on. I also, by the way, I teach, or I taught for many years at like an arts conservatory, dramatic conservatory, right? Teaching actors how to make web series and how to make social series and fun little things like this, like podcasts, like sketch series, whatever, and how to think about themselves as brands, not in like a, you know, douchey influencer kind of way, but in a, hey, every celebrity you know out there who's famous, who's made it work, has at some point architected a brand for themselves. And that's what gives them freedom to work. And, you know, I don't know. It also like where I think I had the problem with it is I felt like if I was putting my name on something that I was writing that was in any way like controversial or incendiary, for example, that like, you know, like my conservative family would get pretty upset about, and you know, oh, what if you know, why are you bad mouthing this, this, and this? You know, I cared too much about maybe what certain people close to me thought of what I thought and did.
Mm.
I don't anymore, but at the time, like that's what I remember feeling. And I think that over time I realized, oh yeah, that's why people like they either actively have to decide they don't care about that kind of thing, or they have to just like completely redefine themselves, rename themselves, come up with a stage name, whatever it is, to sort of psychically separate themselves, the person, from themselves, the performer, and the entertainment professional.
Absolutely. So it sounds you said you weren't you
Beady,
didn't
beady,
read the
beady.
questions, but I have a feeling you got the punching up versus punching down.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, I watched,
Oh,
I,
okay.
like I said, I think within like the first 20 minutes to a half an hour, those are the questions I did, encounter. So yes,
All right. So
yes,
fair enough. So
yeah.
is criticizing dead people considered punching down?
Only literally because they're in the ground. If they're cremated, it doesn't matter because then you're kind of punching into the air. No, I think no, no, of course not. Once you die or become famous or
Die or become famous because they're synonymous.
yeah, once you die, yes. No, we know every dead person. No, like I think no, I'm die, comma, or become famous, comma, or otherwise, put yourself out there into the public. Like even in today's world, like, well, your question was about dead people first. I'll get to fame in a second. But dead people, no. Making fun of dead people, it depends maybe on the way they died. And like I'm a big fan of the Small Town Murder podcast, and those guys put it really well, which is to say we make fun of the murderers and the police and whatever. We don't make fun of the victims or the victims' families. And it's like, yeah, that in that situation, no, I mean, like the line is going to be different for every person, every comic, every comedian. Yeah, I don't think I think once you're dead, it's like I don't believe that your ghost is going to come haunt me. So I think you're fair game.
Oh, that's
It's
a good
yeah,
reason not
I
to.
think yeah, I think it's okay. I think again, like the exception is like, oh man, like if you were just an anonymous, like if you're famous for being killed, like that's the issue. Like I'm not gonna be out here necessarily making fun of like like some child murder victim or something like that. Or even like, like the Black Dahlia. I could make some jokes about how messed up her murder was, and maybe I would. But, I think that if that's the reason why you're famous, maybe that's crossing the line. But if you're famous and then you die, especially if
Mhm.
you die in a silly way, then all bets are off. Yeah.
Yeah, falling in a manhole, that would be a silly way, right? Especially if you're a woman.
Yeah, the
So,
guy who, like, the person who, like, even though I think this is erroneous, like the CEO of Segway, who, like, supposedly segued off a cliff. It's like,
oh yeah,
great. Yeah, it writes itself.
it does. That one does for sure.
Yeah.
So, how about the cultural translation of comedy? So, how do jokes that work in one country bomb in another?
Ah, I knew all too much about this. So when I mentioned that I work in this world of micro dramas, vertical narratives, which are for the most part not comedies, although there have been some, and I've written some. And the process for writing for the apps which fund these things is fascinating because most of them, not exclusively, but most of them are Chinese. But most of them are also run not by entertainment people and certainly not by comedians, but by data scientists. And so there is an element of I am writing a script
Hmm.
and it's funny. And there's some jokes in there and there's some, wry observations or what have you. And the way things are phrased are distinctive to an American audience. And then it is, put through an AI translator and given to a team of data scientists in Beijing, and they tell me whether or not it's funny. And of course, it's not, because
Yeah,
things that like, yeah, I mean, like think about all the silly little euphemisms and expressions and
right.
phrases. Like, remember, like it's like I had like, "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth" or something like that, and that it was like people are like, "What?
It's not going to work in China, right?
Why are
So
you
you're saying
talking
that
about?"
yeah, the
Yeah.
audience is Chinese for these?
Sometimes. No, the audience is normally American for the
Uh-huh.
stuff that I'm writing, or Western, let's say. But
So
like
you you write it for an American audience, but then
yeah,
the Chinese have to translate it, authorize it, and then show it to Americans. So there's like this huge disconnect. right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that's correct. It is a global impasse. And like I worked for many years for an Indian company, and that had its own way that it worked. And I work with people in the Ukraine and Israel, and it's like everyone has their own sense of what's funny and what you must never do. It's very
Mm.
funny because when I'm translating like a lot of these like very serious shows, um, that are give me one second. Um,
Must be a serious show.
yeah, 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 no, it's one of those like, oh, someone's at the door, and I'm hoping my wife can get it. Um, the yeah, the like a very serious show, and they are, you know, giving me these plot lines that are like very, 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 very serious to them. Like, oh no, the hero is going to, do something that brings dishonor onto his family company and his grandfather's name. I'm like, what? Like that. So it
Right.
works both ways. It works for serious stuff. Like what's serious there, it's like laughable here. Oh, that's the big, conflict is like whether his grandfather's going to be, his grandfather's company is going to be embarrassed of him or what. It's bizarre. Um, it's not
Yeah.
that in and of itself is not bizarre, but it's like bizarre that we all have these like really deeply um held things of what we think is funny or meaningful and whatever. And yeah, it just doesn't fly once you cross the border.
No, absolutely not. I can imagine, North Korea where you do something wrong and your grandchildren are also imprisoned for that. So, right. So that's the kind of the context that they're putting in. So how does the silence when your joke doesn't land hurt? Physically, emotionally, morally, or spiritually?
Physically, emotionally, morally, or spiritually. Well, again, I'm not in the business of like going in front of a lot of people and seeing that happen live, specifically
Mhm.
because I think I am too much of a wuss and I don't like that feeling. But I remember doing it a lot. When I first started my career, I was doing a lot of sketch comedy in New York and a lot of things like that. And, I didn't really do stand up, but like stand up adjacent stuff and some improv, whatever. And yeah, you could tell obviously when it's not working, and I felt it physically. Like I felt like I get like a rush of like I get like, oh, I'm hot. I'm having a hot flash. I'm a perimenopausal woman here or something like that. I'm like, oh, I don't feel well. I feel dizzy. My eyes
Right.
start to like bulge out of my head like, I'm the bad guy at the end of Live and Let Die, and I'm a big balloon that's blowing up. The emotionally, yeah, of course. Like I think probably comics in general, and also comedians, like certainly the people who go into it for a living, are anxious and neurotic people to a large degree, or else they're total sociopaths. But I think most of us are, very self-critical because we have to be if you're willing to make fun of yourself. And again, even if you're not a comedian, you're just a writer, but you're writing truthfully about your own experience. Yeah, you have to be able, like, you have to have an emotional well to dig deep on. Um, so yeah, I think anyone with that sort of emotional well, I've done like a ton of theater and stuff back. It's what I did in college, and yeah, like you feel it when you're bombing in that regard. You just feel like a disconnect. What were the other two ones you said? Emotionally, socially? No. What did you say?
Spiritually
Hmm.
and morally.
Oh, morally, like, yeah, like there's a sense of like, I guess of like, oh God, not only does this hurt my feelings and my heart rate is going up, but I'm disappointing everyone around me. Like that's sort of, I guess that's sort of the moral side
Yeah.
of it. Oh God, I'm disappointing my dead grandparents. So there you go. Maybe I do have something in common with the Chinese soap opera community.
So that means that
Um,
your dead grandparents are watching you.
yeah, yeah. Probably because I didn't make fun of them in that earlier question. But yeah, so right. There's that sense of moral, like, and it's sort of like a God, what am I doing with my life kind of thing as well. I remember feeling a couple times when I used to do musicals, and it's like I don't think I'm the right person to do musicals. I had a blast doing them, but I don't think I'm the right kind of person to do it. And there was that I remember getting that feeling of like, oh, I see. Like I am the wrong. It's not that this is wrong for me because I'm having fun, but I am wrong for this. This is not like I don't belong doing this. Um, and what was the other?
It's not ideal. There's a better optimal choice.
Right. Like tons of people love playing baseball. But just because you love playing baseball, that does not mean that you should be a professional baseball player. I'm not saying you specifically, but I'm saying like anyone, right? Um, and uh yeah, then the last question was spiritually, and maybe there's a little bit of a crossover there. Yeah, I don't know if it hurts you spiritually or not. I tend to be someone who will take every slight, or who used to take every slight like very deeply, but who also used to take every success very deeply. So, it's just, if you're that kind of person, then yeah, like bombing hurts in every way.
Mm, it's explosive.
Yeah.
So, all right, very important question. Advertising and self-promotion. So who advertises themselves more? The comic, the comedian, or the magician?
You know that place where you're not conscious and you're not sleeping either? That's your power bill to the electric company. Right here. I want us to be here with free energy, where the Wardenclyffe Tower meets the Eiffel Tower. But that's not where we are. We are here, where you've got the utility and you've got residential solar. Between these two, we know which one saves you money. This is where we can go in the meantime. But this is where I want us to be now, and this can be done now. So let me deputize you to represent DOSE, Department of Solar Efficiency, and let's get on the podcast to get the message out today. See you soon.
By magician, do you mean like a stage magician or like magic with a K, like an occultist, hermeticist,
Ooh.
perhaps? What do you mean?
Ah, wow.
Like a real
Well,
magician?
a real magician. I like it. So,
No,
so
the real
what was
magician
Chris?
does not advertise themselves, for the most part, in my experience.
You've
I have
experienced
a,
real magicians,
oh
miracles.
yeah, one of my good friends and writing partners is a magician of an order that he can't tell me about. He can't talk to me about
Uh-huh.
this order and what it believes in because I'm not a member. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, all right.
But
So
you've
you're,
but you've
but
witnessed the magic.
no, not of that.
Okay.
But I've witnessed him telling me about the
Ah, I
order.
see.
So I guess that is a little bit of advertising. No, I would say my instinct was to say the stage magician has to advertise the most because people hate that discipline.
Hmm.
Unless you are specifically going to like the Magic Castle or somewhere like in Vegas or a children's party where you know up front and have signed on for the fact that they are going to be stage and or wandering magicians, that is not something that the average person wants to accidentally see. Like no average person wants to be like, oh, in a bar, oh, they're having, if you hear like, oh, there's a band playing tonight. Oh, okay. Oh, there's a couple comics. Oh, okay. Oh, there's going to be a stage magician there and they're going to be doing some tricks. It's like, no, hell no, I'm out. I don't care if this was like the date of a lifetime or if I'm going to meet someone who's going to give me $1 million. We can meet down the street. I'm not going to watch a magic show. That's my feeling on it anyway. And
Hmm.
I don't know why, because I have nothing against magic, real or otherwise. Um, but you have to be in the right mindset for it. Maybe comedy is the same way, although I just mind less if I suddenly stumble upon someone doing a stand-up set and it's not awful, I am amused. I will sit and watch that for a little while. So who advertises more, the comic or the comedian? I mean, my instinct there is to say that the comedian, it's just like, I think unfortunately, advertising is just a critical component of how anyone, forget even like getting famous or getting followers, how anyone just survives, in their job these days. And that's not limited to comedians. That's like writers have to advertise themselves now essentially, and that's like asking the most introverted people in the world to go and talk about themselves. um I have a friend from high school who's like he does something with mortgages. He's like a mortgage broker or something. It's even more specialist than that, but he has to have a whole social media channel about his work and what he does. Cause like, yeah, there's another guy in the county who does this, but if I have more followers, more people will come to me, blah, blah, blah. So that kind of thing it's pervasive and it's everywhere. And again, that's just the world we live in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no,
So,
yeah.
so Tom, what don't you want me to know about you?
Oh God. I think I've already said it in that I used to
Uh,
do musicals. No. what don't I want you and or anyone? I guess that I wonder quite often if I have any taste whatsoever. Like, which is a difficult thing as a creative person. Like, I often am in the role of being like a creative director of some sort, right? Either like
Hmm.
when I used to do advertising campaigns, that's all about like selling yourself as the one person who has the most taste and can, sell this through. Or like when I'm working on a film, if I'm like, or a series or something, I might be directing it, or I might be just like producing it, or I have the taste. And it's sort of like I don't actually buy that all that many people have firmly fixed tastes, but some of the people that I love and admire in this business, that seems to be like the North Star. Like, what is, yeah, I have this fixed and unmovable, like a David Lynch or something like that, this
Mm.
unmovable, like rock solid taste that I can always come back to. And I have my taste, but yeah, that's one of those things. If I'm being honest about like
That's
things that yeah, yeah.
well, I was just thinking, is there a way to quantify taste in this way? Would you say that possibly it's a rule set for what you create?
Yeah. And maybe yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And then maybe the like I mean, I think the secret weapon to taste is it is less of a hard and fast thing with most people now and more like hey, I'm just going to take everything that comes and it's like almost like a gut level. What do I say yes to include? What do I say no to include? But yeah, it's a rule set for what you include. And how did you phrase it? A rule set for what?
How
I
did
don't know.
I?
It's
It's
good,
not one of
whatever
my
you said.
questions. It's a rule set
Oh, you
for
went on
for
mute.
your creative work. Like like I have a rule set for what I'm working on, for specifically for scripts, which I'm
Yeah.
not going to divulge right now. But
Yeah.
I think it creates a style because it's telling everybody who's involved what they should think about what's happening, what other people are doing in the moment, what the
Yeah.
actors are doing, what everyone should be focused on.
Right. So in that regard, it's more like and I think about this a lot because I'm someone who I have a quantity of ideas and I think I also have a quality of ideas. Like and I think success probably lies in finding a way to have both, but there are some creators who have like just one idea and but they know it's so clear and sharp that they're able to just like go and work on that thing for a decade. I am, my attention is very scattered and I have hundreds of ideas that I think, oh, this would be a great thing. This would be a great thing. And I think it's more, you're right. I think it's more like taste for a person like me is more like it's not like a fixed individual thing so much as it is what is the right rule set for this project or this world or this campaign or whatever, and just being able to filter everything through that. So if the first type of artist or creator or whatever is like um if that's like a statue, right? Like if that's like a fixed, unmovable, clear-cut articulation of, creative genius. If that's like your David Lynch's or whatever, or in the comedy sense, someone like Stephen Wright. Remember Stephen Wright? I don't know why
Mhm.
he popped it into mind, but because I don't think he's been in anything for like 20 or 30 years. But he had such like the brand, the persona, the type of jokes he told, the look, it was all very like that is a clear articulation of a very specific type of comedy, right?
Mhm.
And then um if that person is a statue, maybe people like me are more like we're the museum. You know what I mean? Like we are the like we can work in we can have and I'm sounding very pretentious, but that's okay. We can have like a Van Gogh over here and like some piece of
The
modern art
curator.
over
You're
here.
the
A what?
curator of the museum. You're the curator of the museum.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't mean I'm the museum myself. That's ridiculous. But like yeah, like exactly, like the curator of the museum, and it's sort of like less about my own particular. But even if what's like a curator that also makes the work? I don't know. I don't know what that
Well, they
is.
they
Doesn't make
decide
sense.
that they control the taste or the style
Yeah,
of the museum, right?
yeah, yeah,
So that would be the
exactly.
same. So, Tom, what So is truth treasure in heaven?
Is truth treasure in heaven? Maybe truth is currency in heaven, right? Yeah, I guess that's a really interesting thought. I've often thought that if there is any sort of afterlife and we die, like, in the modes when I'm dreaming about like, oh, there will be one day when we all get to see what really is going on. Like when we all get to see the absolute truth. When we die, then they're like, all right, you made it. Here you are. You're in heaven. You want to know what was really going on? And here it is. Oh, I didn't expect it to be that. I didn't expect it. What
Right.
would be the lizard people or whatever it is. Like yeah, it's sort of like, oh, that's who killed JFK, right? It like you will be able to access. I don't know, maybe there's some movie like that made me think that, but yeah, like I do have the feeling that in that regard, that heaven would be this idea of like, okay, I see what's going on, but I also think, um, yeah, I mean, like, what is it like? Is it like Keats or someone like that was like, truth is beauty, beauty is truth,
Hmm.
but beauty is also in the eye of the beholder, which then by the transitive property of mathematics means truth is in the eye of the beholder,
Right.
which is true. That's the world that we live in, you know.
It is. It's what it
It's
appears to
not,
be.
yeah, it's not exactly. It's not, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. It's the other way around. It's like, oh, I'll see it once I believe it, you know.
Right. Ah, there it is. So speaking of, Tom,
Yeah.
are you ready to enter the multiverse?
Um, yeah, I kind of think we have. Like I already. Yeah, I think I'm ready. I think I don't know if you remember back in like 2012 how everyone was saying, "Oh, it's the end of the world," right? It was like the Mayan long count apocalypse or whatever everyone was saying. I think it was like December 21st, 2012, and then it's like nothing happened, right? But
Hmm.
part of me is like, did it? Did it maybe happen? And then we are in like, because everything after that seems like it's gone off crazy rails, and we're in like everything from, the whole what is it? The Mandela effect and all of that of it all to yeah, just like that shouldn't have happened. Like or that or like glitched in the universe crazy stuff. It's like I kind of feel sometimes that that's exactly what happened. Like our world ended that day, and then we're in like the I don't know, we're in like the crappy remake of the real world or something like that, you know? I
Yeah.
don't know.
No,
Yeah.
definitely. That's how it seems to me for sure. So, all right. So here in the Comedians and Elevators podcast, we have a tradition where the previous guest asks a question for the next guest. And the previous guest was Danielle McMahon. And her question for you, Tom, is what do you think is the difference between stand-up and comedy podcasts?
Ah, that's a good question. I mean the obvious answer, which I'll try to go beyond of like, the format is stand up, you have an audience there, and for the most part, you don't in the comedy podcast world. I suppose I should have led with that too. I've done a number of podcasts. The podcast environment feels much more controlled, I think, in all ways, shape, and form, right? Like you can, I mean, obviously, you have a guest on, you can interview them, you don't know what's going to be said, but you can always choose to change something after the fact. There's so many differences in format. Also, though, the fact that it's kind of there forever unless you delete it. Like, you go to a comedy show and unless someone's filming with their phone, it's like that's just a moment in time. It's ephemeral. It's not that it doesn't matter what you say, but it's not going to necessarily live beyond those four walls unless you do the same jokes over and over again. But yeah, I think the absence of having a crowd there, is probably the biggest thing. And of course, there's a couple different varieties of comedy podcast show. Like there's the ones where there is an element of uh, newness every episode because they're talking to someone new, right?
Hmm.
And then there's the ones where it's like, oh, it's just them talking to, it's like Last Podcast on the Left is a great comedy podcast, but it's just them talking to themselves. It's like there's
Hmm.
not, they fully have the ability to, prepare what they're going to say to each other with not too much and yet they manage to do it and inject some novelty and be funny and all of that in every episode, even when they do prepare. So
All right.
yeah.
I like it. Awesome. So, Tom, where can everybody find you online?
Go to China and watch some soap operas. No, yeah, you can find me online. And I hate saying this. My biggest outlet right now is LinkedIn, corporate Facebook, as you say, only because that's how I got clients, and that's how, But I mean, so if you're, I will say this, if you are interested in the world of like web video and digital series and yes, vertical video and yes, microdramas and soap operas, then sure, yes, please follow me on LinkedIn. I also have an Instagram. I don't update it much. It's weirdly like my last name, but with weird instead of Woodley, Ley. So I mean, go around and say Weirdley. I am launching some other streams shortly, but unfortunately, can't send you there yet. So that's where to find me right now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Thom, thank you so much for being my guest. And for everyone, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.
If you're interested in too much information like in the network state or Mantipus the chicken shit, check out this video. Or is it this one right here? Well, either way. Lizard